Welcome to Sunken Diamond Game 6 of the Stanford Regional on this Sunday evening. NCAA baseball from the campus of Stanford University, presented by Capital One. We have reached the regional final stage between the number 2 national seed, the Pac-12 champion Stanford Cardinal, against the Big West champs Cal State Fullerton. Now keep in mind, Stanford needs to win tonight to force a Game 7 tomorrow night in this double elimination format. Along with Arizona Hall of Famer, national champion Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you. And it's been a fun regional. Stanford had to survive an elimination game earlier today. And Cal State Fullerton in the driver's seat, Wes, they need to lose twice.
Well, they do. I mean, Stanford had the big game and the big win earlier today, Roxy. And now a big, tough chore for the Cardinal is they have to not only win now, today, but they also have to win tomorrow as well to advance on.
Well, they've won once earlier today in an elimination game against Baylor, the Big 12 tournament champions. Andrew Dashbach in the first inning got Stanford going.
Well, he leads the Cardinal in home runs, Roxy, and this was a rocket ship right out. It got the Cardinals' offense started, and pretty much that ended up being a game winning.
Now, these two teams squared off last night, bottom of the ninth. Jace Jumbo Chamberlain with the walk-off home run.
Well, this was the freshman who ignited this big celebration at home plate. You see him right there. The shot heard around the world, Roxy.
So Chamberlain putting Cal State Fullerton into the regional final. Again, the Titans 2-0, so Stanford needs to win tonight to force a deciding Game 7 here tomorrow. Stanford and Cal State Fullerton locking up for this regional final. Lineups and first pitch straight ahead from Sunken Diamond. It's a beautiful Sunday evening here at Sunken Diamond as we bring you Game 6 of the Stanford Regional Final as in this double elimination format. So Stanford must win tonight to force a Game 7. If Fullerton wins tonight, Fullerton moves on to the Super Regionals as they beat Stanford last night to get into this regional final. Here's the lineup for David Esker and the Stanford Cardinal, 46-11, the Pac-12 champs. And the number 2 national seed, Bo Branton, leads it off. Tim Tawa, the freshman third baseman. Nico Horner. Andrew Dashbach homered earlier today in their win against Baylor. Kyle Stowers, Brandon Wolf in right field. Will Matheson to DH. Christian Malfetta behind the plate. And Alec Wilson batting ninth. And Tanner Bybee makes the start for Cal State Fullerton. He's 2-5 and a 3.97 ERA as the right-hander, a freshman from Mission Viejo. And normally this is Andrew Quezada, who was the number 3 starter, but an injury for Quezada to his right elbow. He has a strain in his right elbow, so he's not available. So Bybee makes the start here tonight against Stanford.
Well, keep an eye. What you want to keep an eye on for Bybee is his command. He's got 17 walks in only 45 innings. Opponents are hitting Roxy 284.
Bo Branton leads it off, second baseman, 355 for the senior, who struggled a bit here in the regional. And the right-hander's pitch is ball 1. Branton just 1 for 13 in the regional. One 0 pitch. And there's a ball hit in the air to right field, hit toward Ruben Cardenas, backpedaling. And that's how our ball game begins. Defensively for Cal State Fullerton, Jarris Richards in left, Mitchell Berryhill in center, and Cardenas in right. Brett Borgonio at third, Saeed Valenzuela shortstop, Hank LaFord at second base, Jacob Pavletich at first base, Daniel Cope catching, Tanner Bybee.
Titans had the 4th best defensive club in the Big West this year.
Tim Tawa hitting .301. 7 homers for Tawa on the year. And he takes a breaking ball for a strike as Tawa 4 for 14 with 2 RBIs.
Rox, I think it's really, really important for Stanford to get in front in this game early as well.
Here comes the 1 strike pitch. And Stanford has played 1 more game here this weekend to this point, so you have to imagine. Plus, they had a 13-inning game here Friday night. So their pitching is a little bit more beat up at this point than Cal State Fullerton, even considering Fullerton is down Quezada. Good breaking ball from Bybee. 1-2 on Tim Tawa. So last night, Fullerton beat Stanford 2-1 on the walk-off homer in the bottom of the ninth. From Jumbo, Jason Chamberlain, the freshman for Cal State Fullerton. Here comes the 1-2, and Tawa chases a breaking ball, and he's down on strikes, 2 gone.
Take a look at Rick Vanderhook. He's always calm when we take a look at him, right?
This is the 19th postseason meeting between Stanford and Cal State Fullerton. The Titans have won each of the last 3, including last night. Cal State Fullerton won twice in the Stanford Regional here last year. And all of the meetings between these teams have taken place since 1988, which was the second of Stanford's back-to-back national titles. Nico Horner looks at a strike.
And, of course, you're talking about postseason, Rocks, but this year, earlier, the first series, I should say, of the year, the Titans were up here and they got swept.
Stanford swept that series as Horner 4 for 13 with an RBI here in the regional. And there's a fastball outside. That was part of a 1-7 start to the year for the Titans. Turn things around now, 34-23, winning the Big West, going 18-6 in conference play. Here's a ball driven out toward right. Cardenas going back, still going back, and it's over his head, off the wall, and Horner may get 3 out of this. He's taking the turn. Strong throw by Cardenas, and sliding in with a triple, Nico Horner for Stanford. 6th triple of the season for Horner.
Well, you like to see this from Horner. He has been, for the most part, pulling the ball the whole regional, and this, he goes oppo just off the bottom. But how about Cardenas' arm, Roxy? I mean, Horner can run. He made it close.
2 down for Andrew Dashbach, who homered earlier today, as Horner the runner at third. Dashbach 4 for 10 in the regional. A couple of doubles and a home run. And Andrew Dashbach hitting .291 with 17 homers, 4th in the Pac-12 in home runs.
Be careful here.
Tanner Bybee. That's ball 1, smothered by the catcher, Daniel Cope.
Not many. Excuse me, Rox. Go ahead.
17 homers for Dashbach.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, as a team, Cal State Fullerton has hit 12 all season.
And Jumbo will say, so what?
One and one.
It's breaking ball really similar to Colton Eastman's. Sharp, over the top. But Rox, as far as the Stanford offense, hasn't been as it was during the year, but the hits they've gotten, predominantly extra base hits.
Hitting only .212 as a team here in the regional. And they have scored 9 runs in their 3 games coming into this one. 2-1 on Dashbach, the cleanup batter for Stanford.
It's a good adjustment by Dashbach right there. Same pitch, different reaction.
Stanford sticking with the home whites, which served them well earlier today when they eliminated Baylor 4-2 in Game 5 here this afternoon to get to this regional final tonight. Horner at third base for the Cardinal. Just a bit low. Brandon Cooper calling the balls and strikes tonight. Brian DeBrouwer, the umpire, at first base. Jason Kaminsky at second. And Damian Beal at third.
I like this whole at bat by Dashbach here. Fooled him with the breaking ball, and ever since he has been locked in.
Playing him to pull. And Dashbach draws a walk.
It's a great pitch. Just a better at bat.
Runners at the corners. And 2 away for Kyle Stowers, the left fielder.
The Rocks, that'll tell you the respect they have and the staff for the Titans for Dashbach, with the left-handed Stowers coming up right now.
Congratulations to the Washington Huskies as they have won the Conway, South Carolina Regional and have advanced to the Super Regional, where Washington will await the winner of this regional.
What conference is it?
Pac-12.
Otherwise known as?
Conference of Champions.
Okay.
Just getting underway, Oregon State and LSU in Game 6 of the Corvallis Regional. And here, the Pac-12 against the Big West. A couple of conference champions meeting in this regional final as Stowers takes a strike.
Now, Stowers, Roxy, had been struggling the whole regional, but he got that single and his last at bat. And for the Cardinal to advance out of here, in my opinion, this young man needs to step up and swing the bat like he's capable of.
Horner at third, Dashbach at first. Bybee, the one-strike pitch, and Stowers takes it for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Now you got to be careful, Roxy. Now Cope behind the dish, the catcher for the Titans. Very good defensive catcher. But with this nasty breaking ball that Bybee has and the speed of Horner at third, could sneak a run with a wild pitch.
The 2-strike offering. Fought off by Stowers. Stowers just 2 for 13 in the regional. Sophomore left fielder from El Cajon, down in the San Diego area.
It's kind of nice down there.
It's not bad here either. No. A wonderful night for baseball at Sunken Diamond. Just underway. Game 6 of this regional. Runner goes from first as Dashbach on the move, and Stowers fouls it away. So congratulations to Lindsey Meggs, the head coach of the Huskies.
Had a chance late in the year, all the way down to the last game of the Pac-12 season to actually win.
Inning.
Correct. He had the lead. The Huskies had the lead over this team we're taking a look at right now, the Stanford Cardinal.
Oh, 0-2 the count on Stowers. Bybee, pitch, and that's in the dirt, ball 1.
It's a good take there.
One and 2 the count here with 2 down.
Anything's in play. Now, they've already sent Dashbach at first, but you got Nico Horner at third who can fly. Just wonder if Dashbach takes off and it's a ball, if they want him to stop halfway.
Breaking ball low. Bybee thought he made his pitch and a delayed steal. Dashbach takes second base. That's some heads-up base running right there.
No, it really is. You are correct, Rox.
So Dashbach with a steal. Stanford now with 2 in scoring position. 4th steal of the season for Andrew Dashbach. 2 and 2 on Kyle Stowers. pitch. Called strike three. Went with a backdoor breaking ball, and Stowers can't believe it. Stowers caught looking as a couple of strikeouts for Tanner Bybee in the first, and he catches. Stowers looking to strand two runners as Cal State Fullerton coming to bat. On to the home half of the first. Cal State Fullerton, the designated home team, and Rick Vanderhook and the Titans, the Big West champs. Here's their lineup tonight. And for Cal State Fullerton, Hank LaForte leads it off. Mitchell Berryhill hitting second. Ruben Cardenas in right. The cleanup batter, the catcher Daniel Cope. Zahid Valenzuela, Jacob Pavlidich, Chris Prescott, Jarris Richards, and Brett Borgonio for the Titans. And they'll face the fourth starter for Stanford, Eric Miller, tonight. Big lefty, 6'5", 220 from Wildwood, Missouri. 4-3 and a 4.03 ERA for Miller.
Well, you take a look at his numbers. What is most impressive to me, Roxy, 44 innings and 44 and 2/3 to be exact, 51 punch-outs. It's what they call a crafty lefty.
And the first pitch drills Hank LaForte. That's now 41 straight games Hank LaForte has reached base. And it's the 9th consecutive game in which he has reached base in his leadoff at bat.
The beat goes on for LaForte. This is just in the back.
So Hank LaForte is on. Here is Mitchell Berryhill, a 307 batter.
That's the last guy you want on base for the Titans. He leads the Titans in runs scored.
Ball one to Berryhill. As Berryhill with a runner at first, and already this Stanford Cardinal has some activity in the bullpen.
Well, it's win or go home.
Berryhill 2 for 7 in the regional with an RBI. As in their 2 wins, the Titans have scored 8 runs, but they've only allowed 3. And it's 2-0 on Berryhill as Miller is still looking to throw a strike. It's Cal State Fullerton, the only Big West team in the field this year. And many perceive it to be a down year for the conference. As there is ball 3, and the first time since 2012 that only one team from the Big West has reached the NCAA field. And keep in mind, last year we had an all Big West super regional between 2 heated rivals down in Southern California, Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach State.
They are heated, by the way. I mean, the last series they played last week, Twitter was on fire between the 2 schools.
And the Big West has pretty much been a multi-bid league every season since 1987, other than 2012 and this season. Strike for Miller.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that the Big West also, Roxy, the last 4 years have had a representative in Omaha at the College World Series.
In 3 different schools. When you look at Fullerton has been twice, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Irvine. Strike for Miller, full count on Berryhill.
This is a huge, huge pitch. Yes, it's the first inning, but when you have to win a ball game, which is exactly what Stanford has to do, you can ill afford to walk first and second.
Big pitch for Eric Miller. And he missed high, and Cal State Fullerton has 2 on. LaForte to second, Berryhill at first, and here comes Ruben Cardenas.
Now, one might think the 3-hole hitter, that Rick Vanderhook would not bunt him in this situation. But I will say this. Cardenas can fly. We know he can fly. You have Cope on deck, who leads your team in RBIs. If Stanford elects to not pitch to Cope and possibly walk him, now you have the bases loaded in inning 1 and the switch hitting Zahid Valenzuela coming up.
Cardenas, a .298 hitter with 3 home runs. He's driven in 34. So a little bit of a jam here for Miller to try to wiggle out of in the first, trying to navigate through some traffic. And a breaking ball outside.
And he was bunting. And it doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is not the usual offensive lineup that we have seen over the years for the Titans. They've figured out different ways to score runs. And it's not small ball, it's just baseball.
There's a strike from Eric Miller. 1-1 the count. So the Titans, who beat Baylor here in game one behind Colton Eastman on Friday. And then last night, Tommy Wilson set the tone, went 6 innings. And then the walk-off with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth by Chamberlain, winning it for Cal State Fullerton. 1-1. Good breaking ball.
That's a really, really good breaking ball from Bybee. Now, the perfect case scenario for Bybee is to get the punch
Miller.
out here. Take a
Eric
look
Miller.
at the breaking ball. Excuse me, Miller. But the perfect situation for Miller is to get the strikeout and then somehow try to get the double play, ground ball from Valenzuela, who was on deck. Or, excuse me, Cope.
1-2 the count on Cardenas. LaFord at second, Berryhill at first. Miller looking for an out anywhere he can find it here. On the ground is short. Nico Horner has one play, gets the out at first, so essentially that does the job of a sacrifice.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you want to do. Now let's figure out what Stanford is going to do with Cope. It's just a little jam shot.
So runners at second and third. Bottom of the first inning. So 1 out. And the batter is Daniel Cope. 5 of the Titans' 12 homers this year and hitting .280. Down low with a fastball as Dashbach playing way in at first. Cope 0 for 6 with an RBI in the regional.
Well, it makes sense that Dashbach would be because Cope is not somebody that hits a lot of balls to the right side. But Cope with 5 home runs. And keep in mind the team has 12.
There's a strike.
There's a lot of things you can do, but if you're David Esker, you got to worry about Miller's command so far in this inning. So if you put somebody on like Cope, and then you bring up Valenzuela, the switch hitter, who can run.
He's hit a batter and walked a batter already in this first. Miller the 1-1. This is sent foul toward the Stanford bullpen and out of play.
It's a good fastball by Miller. That actually surprised Cope a little bit. Real late.
Ball and 2 strikes on Daniel Cope. Said Valenzuela on deck for the Titans.
Got him set up for a breaking ball, and he's got a good breaking ball. Just got to trust your catcher, Molfetta, that he's going to block it.
Eric Miller from the set. And the pitch. And reaching for it, Cope pulls it foul. This is what Cal State Fullerton does.
Yeah.
They grind out at bats. They fight off pitches.
Well, yesterday against Bubich, they had 20 foul balls in a matter of 6 innings.
Ball and 2 strikes on Cope. Eric Miller. The pitch. Another foul ball.
Well, if you follow the sequence, it was fastball, breaking ball, back to the fastball. Still ahead, 1-2. You'd like to think that they'll try to spin a breaking ball up there, out of the strike zone. Try to get the strikeout.
Molfetta running through the signs for Miller. 1-2. And now time, and Miller steps off.
Well, that was close, Rox. You saw Lafort behind Miller at third. Get a little antsy. They told him to step off. Speaking of Miller. And now this is a good job by Molfetta. Going out to talk to the sophomore, calming down. Tell him, hey, you're in front. Trust me. We call this breaking ball. Bury it, and I'll block it.
And Lafort, the runner at third, trying to get in his head also. So I got to imagine that part of this conversation is don't worry about the runner, just concentrate on the plate.
Correct. You know, sometimes you talk like you played baseball, Roxy.
Well, I did at one point.
Yes. At what point was that?
It's been a long time. Cope out toward right center. On the move, Alec Wilson runs it down. Runner's tag coming home, Lafort. Diving into third is Mitchell Berryhill. And Cal State Fullerton strikes here in the first inning. And this is what the Titans do. They manufacture a run, and they have the lead without the benefit of a hit.
Well, this is exactly what they do. And what they do better than most, Roxy, is take advantage of hit by pitches and walks. You know, look at Cope, and then you see Lafort on third. Catch, score.
Runner at third and two down now for Zahid Valenzuela. 270 hitter with 20 driven in. So the leadoff hit by pitch has come around to score. Miller misses high.
Zahid's got that good beard going, huh?
The bleach blonde dyed beard.
I have some information on the hair.
Yes.
I do, and I'm going to hold it.
Why are you going to hold it? Why don't you just spill the beans?
Nope. No, because you're always busting my chops that I'm wrong. You busting my chops for
There's a strike as Valenzuela showed bunt.
using the word beautician instead of hairstylist and everything else.
1-1 the count on Valenzuela. 3 for 8 in the regional with an RBI. Just missing with the fastball. Crowd wanted to know where it is, and it's been an interesting strike zone already from plate umpire Brandon Cooper.
You think?
Yeah.
We'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Well, if Miller can get out of here with just the damage being 1 run, job well done.
Popped up in the infield. Dashbach coming in from first. Makes the catch. Titans are gone, but they get a run. They strand a runner. We played one at Sunken Diamond. Cal State Fullerton on top here in Game 6 of the Stanford Cardinal. On to the second inning at Sunken Diamond. 1-0 Cal State Fullerton leading Stanford. And for the Cardinals, 6, 7, and 8 here against Tanner Bybee, who's making the start tonight. And here's the starting performances that Rick Vanderhook has gotten in the first 2 games. Colton Eastman, who went Game 1, and Tommy Wilson last night.
Well, it's the #1 pitching staff in the Big West, and this is what we're used to seeing year after year after year. And much as advertised. It's been stellar, to say the least.
Brandon Wolf leads off the second, 284 on the year. And the junior takes ball one. 4 homers for Wolf, who missed about a month and a half with a foot injury. Came back just a couple of weeks ago. One 1-0 on Wolf. 6-hitter for Stanford. And he takes a strike. It evens the count. So Brandon Wolf has started all 3 games in right for David Esker here this weekend. 1 for 8. He was robbed earlier today on a tremendous catch from Cole Herring of Baylor in game 1 here today. It's fooling Wolf. It's 1-2. Brandon Wolf hit a ball to the wall just to the left of dead center in the 4th inning earlier today. And Herring made a leaping grab, crashing into the wall, and took extra bases away from Brandon Wolf. 2-2 now.
It was a tremendous play. We're going to go look at it right here.
Alex Phillips wondering, is it going to stay in the yard? Hopping up the wall there was Herring to Rob Wolf. 2-2 to Wolf. Strike 3 called. Bybee gets his 3rd strikeout.
Well, that's the 2nd consecutive hitter that home plate umpire Brandon Cooper has rung up for the Cardinals. And neither of the hitters liked it.
This one a little bit more of a strike to me. The one on Stowers was not even close.
It wasn't even close.
1 gone. Here's the DH, Will Matheson, 295 hitter with 7 homers. Tripled against Baylor earlier today. Drove in a run, scored a run. As Tanner Bybee fires strike 1. So Matheson, who took over as the Stanford DH back on May 1st, and all 7 of his homers have come since. And he's come up with some huge hits, some clutch hits for Stanford. Go back to that series a few weeks ago when they squared off against Oregon State in Corvallis, and the Cardinals were in danger of being swept. They were down 6-1 late in that ball game. Came back and tied it on a pinch hit homer from Nick Orr. But then Matheson in the 10th inning with a 3-run double gave Stanford a 9-6 win. Takes a strike, 1-2. And Matheson also in the final day of the regular season a week ago Saturday in Seattle. Stanford was trailing and in danger of losing out on the conference championship, or at least the automatic bid. They would have tied Washington. But the Huskies had the lead, were 3 outs away from finishing it off. And Matheson hit a 2-run homer to tie the game against Joe Demers in the 9th inning.
What I thought was most interesting when that day started, Roxy, there was a scenario where if Washington would have beat Stanford for the sweep and Oregon State would have beaten the Bruins, it would have been a potential 3-way tie initially when the day started.
But then they changed the ruling.
But then,
because Oregon State was a half game back.
Correct.
Strike 3 called. Another caught looking for Bybee. 3 straight backwards Ks for Stanford, 2 away.
Well, it's a good breaking ball. He throws it right at Matheson and just locks him up.
Now that one was a strike.
Yes.
2 outs for Christian Malfetta, the Stanford catcher, hitting just $193. 1 home run on the year. But it came down, and then they changed the ruling. If Oregon State then had beaten UCLA and Washington had beaten Stanford, Oregon State would have been recognized as conference champs as Malfetta drive to left center. Going back is Barry Hill onto the track, and he runs it down a long out off the bat of Christian Malfetta as Tanner Bybee comes up with a 3-up, 3-down inning for the Titans. We go to the home half of the second. Cal State Fullerton up 1-0. 6, 7, and 8 2 up.
The ESPN networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage on ESPN2, ESPNU, the Longhorn Network, SEC Network, and ESPN3. Whip Around coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. All coverage is available on the ESPN app.
On to the bottom of the second, 1-0 Titans over Stanford. And for the Big West champs, it'll be Jake Pavlidich, Chris Prescott, Jarris Richards here. In the bottom of the second against Eric Miller, who battled some control in the first inning, giving up a run. Jake Pavlidich from Bakersfield. And talking to his dad before the ball game, he was a bat boy for Bakersfield College growing up. His dad was a broadcaster.
Really?
With Bakersfield College, yeah.
Well, he gave you a compliment.
You sound surprised.
Well, no, his father. Listen, I'm always building you up, just so you know. And you've seen it. I'm always building you up. You, on the other hand, I just have to live with it.
I got to keep your ego in check.
Yeah, well, yeah, my ego. I'm just happy when I wake up.
1-1 the count on Pavlidich. 279 hitter. And he's laid on a fastball.
How about the Titans, Rocks? They have not trailed at any time in this regional. Not once. Have they been tied? Yes, but they have never trailed.
One-two pitch. Driven foul by Pavlidich.
You know, you keep thinking, Rocks, you heard it the entire year when the Titans started slow, and everybody's like, what's wrong with the Titans this year? Why does it seem like when May rolls around?
We've heard this the last few years that they've gotten off to slow starts, and then all of a sudden you look up in April and May, and oh, yeah, they're winning the Big West again.
Here they go. The machine, it just goes. And
what they do.
It is a machine, folks. What kind of machine, you ask? 43 straight years the Titans have won at least 30 games. Simply amazing.
And for Cal State Fullerton, seeking its 14th Super Regional appearance with a win here tonight. First strikeout for Miller, one away. I'm going to bring up Chris Prescott, the DH.
Looks like Miller's kind of settled in here. It's a good fastball, up and away. And that's exactly what the Cardinal need from this young man.
Only one school has more regional or super regional appearances than Cal State Fullerton. So the Titans are seeking their 14th, so they've been 13 times in the Super as Chris Prescott takes ball one.
Can I guess?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I kind of threw it at you to see if you would respond, and you could guess who it is.
Can I get three guesses?
I'll give you three.
Okay. Miami?
It's not Miami.
USC?
It's not USC.
Oh, my goodness. LSU?
It's not LSU.
Can I have four guesses?
Why not? If anybody at home you want to play along with us, you can tweet Wes, by the way.
Florida?
Give him some hints. It's not Florida.
Okay. Can I get a fifth?
Sure.
Okay. Can I have the whole inning?
Because I'm just a nice guy. You
Okay.
can have as many guesses as you want.
Texas?
It's not Texas.
Florida State.
You got it.
Thank you.
It only took you 6.
Well, hold on a second. If you're a great hitter in baseball, if you succeed 3 out of 10 times, I was only one. Now
You're
I'm 1
1
for
out of
6.
6. You're batting 167.
Right. So if you ask me 3 more questions and I go 3 for 3, I'm hitting 400.
You hit 167. That's why you're sitting with me.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the 2-1. Prescott on the ground. Pulled foul.
It's beautiful, by the way. It is beautiful here. I love Roxy. Don't need to tweet. Roxy, we get that sometimes. Wes, he can't stand Roxy. Nope.
There it is. They're seeking their 4th Super Regional appearance in the last 6 years. On the ground toward first, and it just trickles foul as it's flagged down by Dashbach.
Dashbach, for a big man, very athletic.
He's a good high school football player. But here again is that graphic. So Florida State's been to the Supers 16 times. It will not happen this year as they were eliminated in the Tallahassee Regional.
That's number 8 national seed. 2 and out.
But if Cal State Fullerton can win either here tonight or tomorrow, they get their 14th Super Regional appearance. 2-2 to Prescott. Comebacker played by Miller. Halfway to first, underhands for the out. 2 outs, Jarris Richards coming up for the Titans. And Stanford has reached a regional final now for the 5th consecutive trip to the NCAA tournament. Last year, they were eliminated by Cal State Fullerton when Stanford was the number 8 national seed. As the Titans won twice here at Sunken Diamond to get to that Super Regional, which they played at Blair Field against their rival Long Beach State.
How about the atmosphere last year at Blair Field? Amazing.
Jarris Richards hitting .250 with 12 home runs.
I remember talking to our colleague Kyle Peterson, Stanford grad, by the way, about how was it. I said, how was it at Blair? He said, just amazing. Just amazing. Old style ballpark. They filled it up. It's loud. And they don't like each other. I think we've said that, right?
I think it's abundantly clear. Fouled back by Richards. That's high from Eric Miller. Richards, the 8-hitter for Cal State Fullerton. These two teams are used to seeing one another in the postseason. The Titans lead the all-time, or the Titans have won the last 3. Out to center, Alec Wilson drifting over. And he makes the grab at a 1-2-3 inning as Miller, after a shaky start, has set down 6 in a row. On to the 3rd. Cal State Fullerton 1, Stanford nothing. This is the 19th postseason meeting between Stanford and Cal State Fullerton as we go to the 3rd inning in this regional final. Alec Wilson followed by the top of the order. Bo Branton, Tim Towle for the Cardinal against Tanner Bybee, a 1-0 lead for the Titans. So Stanford leads the all-time postseason series between these two teams, 11-7, despite the Titans winning each of the last 3. Wilson, a .270 hitter. As Bybee's pitch is drilled to center, going back is Berryhill. Plenty of room out there. 1 pitch, 1 out. And we go back to the top of the order, and Bo Branton.
For more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, go to ncaa.com.
So 1 gone. Here is Branton, a fly out in the 1st inning. But so now, with this being the 19th matchup between Stanford and Fullerton, it is tied for the 2nd most played matchup in the history of the NCAA tournament. Branton spins out of the way. It's ball 1. As Florida and Miami have met 23 times in the postseason, which is the most played matchup. But the matchup of these two teams moves into a tie for the 2nd most played with 2 other matchups. That's ball 2. Is Arizona State and Cal State Fullerton have played 19 times, with the Titans taking 11 of those 19. Florida and Florida State have hooked up 19 times as well in the NCAA tournament. And the Gators, a commanding 14-5 lead on their rival Florida State.
Well, one thing you can conclude is that they're all baseball institutions. Tremendous programs over the decades.
Two-one to Branton. There's a foul ball.
You know, Roxy, the Cardinals have won 2 games in this regional, and when you look at their hitting, how they've hit in this regional, they're hitting .212 as a team.
It's been a struggle for them offensively. And here's what we were talking about. And again, this matchup between Fullerton and Stanford, tied for the second most played pairing in the history of the field. Branton lays off. On appeal, no swing, says Brian DeBrouwer down at first base.
Boy, Bybee wanted that, didn't he? He was walking off like that's strike 3. And again, this is exactly how Branton struck out his first at-bat. Was a breaking ball down and away. And the one thing that you need to expect from Titan pitchers, they're not afraid to throw 3-2 breaking balls.
Strike 3 called, and Branton thought it was ball 4.
That's a good pitch, Rox.
5 strikeouts for Tanner Bybee, and 4 of them observing.
That's a good pitch. I mean, Stanford has been locked up by Bybee the entire game so far. How many looking, Rox?
That's 4 of the 5 strikeouts have been looking. 2 outs in the third. Tim Tawa struck out swinging in the first inning. On the ground, right side. Scooped up. Hank Lafort. Easy play on to first. Tanner Bybee has not allowed Stanford to get anything going so far early in this one. The Titans coming to bat up 1-0. 1-0 Cal State Fullerton. We go to the bottom of the third. Brett Borgonio, the 9-hitter for Cal State Fullerton, followed by the top of the order, Hank Lafort, Mitchell Berryhill. A run in the first for Cal State Fullerton on a Daniel Cope sac fly, bringing in Hank Lafort. Brett Borgonio, a .244 batter, takes ball 1.
Big double. Excuse me, Rox. Big double in game 1 against Baylor.
There's a strike.
Played a good third base. Last night made a tremendous play. If you were watching, the Cardinal had first and third and 1 out.
Miller at 40 pitches. There's a strike.
And Tawa at third base. And Nico Horner at the dish. And he hooked a breaking ball down the line and a diving stop by Borgonio, and he ended up getting Tawa at third.
Chopper to second. On a smooth bounce, Bo Branton makes the play, and there's 1 out. Back to the top of the order, Hank Lafort, and a remarkable run for Lafort. The second baseman has now reached base in 41 straight games. He's reaching his first at bat in each of the last 9 games with getting hit by a pitch his first time up.
18-game hitting streak, is that right?
18-game hitting streak as well for Lafort. Strike call to Lafort. And I like what I see from Miller. It was a little bit of a rocky start the first couple of batters, but he seems to be finding his groove and settling in.
Yes, he is settling in, and that's a big relief for David Esker.
Just missed off the corner.
And his pitching coach, Thomas Eager.
It's got to be a difficult time right now to pick up the baseball. If you're a batter at the plate, and maybe even the home plate umpire. Guess that looked pretty good for Miller.
I'm going to stay out of this strike zone.
Wow. But you got Miller in sunlight on the mound and home plate engulfed in shadow. Back over the mound. And it takes a wicked hop, and it skips past Branton into center. And that is a single for Lafort, and now a 19-game hitting streak.
You know, they call Albert Pujols the machine. I think Mr. Lafort is trying to take away that name. I mean, he has been basically a machine. Getting on base, extending his hitting streak to now 19 games, Roxy. The one positive is, yes, Lafort can run, and yes, he can steal bases. But with the left-handed Miller on the mound, that's a defense that Stanford has.
Mitch Berryhill walked. That one gets through Malfetta. Lafort taking a turn. He's thinking about 3. He'll stay at second base on a wild pitch.
Well, let's take a look at it. It's just a fastball down and in, and with all due respect to pitchers and Miller and Malfetta, if you can get your glove on this ball, if you're a catcher, you should catch it, Rox. Malfetta's had some issues behind the dish.
Now Lafort at second for Berryhill. It's 1-0. Activity beginning again for Stanford in the pen as Miller just missed.
How about this? You like the stash?
Isn't that awesome from Berryhill? That is phenomenal.
Well, these guys, the Titans, I mean, on an annual basis when they're in the postseason, and they're in the postseason a lot, this is the 27th straight year, they're always doing something funny with their hair.
In the air to left, hit right toward Kyle Stowers, who makes the one-handed grab. And Lafort back to second base.
And I was holding out because we were talking about the hair.
You kept me on edge here.
I did, but if you haven't noticed, the Titans like to dye their hair. Well, I found out who did it and actually where. Junior transfer Nick Ciandro's mother is a hairstylist, and Derek said she bleached their hair at the hotel. So I was close. You were making fun of me last night? I was actually close.
Ruben Cardenas, a ground out in the first inning. 2 down, Lafort at second. Titans looking to add to a 1-0 lead. And fouled out of play by Ruben Cardenas.
And that information courtesy of Steve Chin of the Big West office.
They've changed the ruling on allowing Lafort to go to second. It is a pass ball and not a wild pitch. You agree?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not picking on anybody. And listen, Malfetta is not the starting catcher.
Maverick Hanley is the regular starter for Stanford, and he's out with an injury as Bo Branton picks up the ground ball, throws out Cardenas, side retired. 1 hit, nobody left through 3. Heart of the order coming up for the Cardinal. This is the 19th postseason meeting between Stanford and Cal State Fullerton as we go to the 3rd inning. In this regional final, Alec Wilson followed by the top of the order, Bo Branton, Tim Towle for the Cardinal against Tanner Bybee, a 1-0 lead for the Titans. So Stanford leads the all-time postseason series between these two teams, 11-7, despite the Titans winning each of the last 3. Wilson, a .270 hitter. As Bybee's pitch is drilled to center, going back is Berryhill. Plenty of room out there. 1 pitch, 1 out. And we go back to the top of the order, and Bo Branton.
For more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, go to ncaa.com.
So 1 gone. Here is Branton, a fly out in the first inning. But so now, with this being the 19th matchup between Stanford and Fullerton, it is tied for the 2nd most played matchup in the history of the NCAA tournament. Branton spins out of the way. It's ball 1. As Florida and Miami have met 23 times in the postseason, which is the most played matchup. But the matchup of these two teams moves into a tie for the second most played, with two other matchups. That's ball two is Arizona State and Cal State Fullerton have played 19 times, with the Titans taking 11 of those 19. Florida and Florida State have hooked up 19 times as well in the NCAA tournament, and the Gators a commanding 14-5 lead on their rival Florida State.
Well, one thing you can conclude is that they're all baseball institutions. Tremendous programs over the decades.
Two-1 to Branton. There's a foul ball.
You know, Roxy, the Cardinals have won 2 games in this regional, and when you look at their hitting, how they've hit in this regional, they're hitting .212 as a team.
It's been a struggle for them offensively. And here's what we were talking about. And again, this matchup between Fullerton and Stanford, tied for the second most played pairing in the history of the field. Branton lays off. On appeal, no swing, says Brian DeBrouwer down at first base.
Boy, Bybee wanted that, didn't he? He was walking off like that's strike 3. And again, this is exactly how Branton struck out his first at-bat. It was a breaking ball down and away. And the one thing that you need to expect from Titan pitchers, they're not afraid to throw 3-2 breaking balls.
Strike 3 called, and Branton thought it was ball 4.
That's a good pitch, Rox.
5 strikeouts for Tanner Bybee, and 4 of them observing.
That's a good pitch. I mean, Stanford has been locked up by Bybee the entire game so far. How many looking, Rox?
That's 4 of the 5 strikeouts have been looking. 2 outs in the third. Tim Tawa struck out swinging in the first inning. On the ground, right side. Scooped up. Hank Lafort. Easy play on to first. Tanner Bybee has not allowed Stanford to get anything going so far early in this one. The Titans coming to bat up 1-0. 1-0 Cal State Fullerton. We go to the bottom of the third. Brett Borgonio, the 9-hitter for Cal State Fullerton, followed by the top of the order, Hank Lafort, Mitchell Berryhill. A run in the first for Cal State Fullerton on a Daniel Cope sac fly, bringing in Hank Lafort. Brett Borgonio, a .244 batter, takes ball 1.
Big double. Excuse me, Rox. Big double in game 1 against Baylor.
There's a strike.
Played a good third base. Last night made a tremendous play. If you were watching, the Cardinal had first and third and 1 out.
Miller at 40 pitches. There's a strike.
And Tawa at third base. And Nico Horner at the dish. And he hooked a breaking ball down the line and a diving stop by Borgonio, and he ended up getting Tawa at third.
Chopper to second. On a smooth bounce, Bo Branton makes the play, and there's 1 out. Back to the top of the order, Hank Lafort, and a remarkable run for Lafort. The second baseman has now reached base in 41 straight games. He's reaching his first at bat in each of the last 9 games with getting hit by a pitch his first time up.
18-game hitting streak, is that right?
18-game hitting streak as well for Lafort. Strike call to Lafort. And I like what I see from Miller. It was a little bit of a rocky start the first couple of batters, but he seems to be finding his groove and settling in.
Yes, he is settling in, and that's a big relief for David Esker.
Just missed off the corner.
And his pitching coach, Thomas Eager.
got to be a difficult time right now to pick up the baseball. If you're a batter at the plate, and maybe even the home plate umpire. Guess that looked pretty good for Miller.
I'm going to stay out of this strike zone.
Wow. But you got Miller in sunlight on the mound and home plate engulfed in shadow. Back over the mound, and it takes a wicked hop, and it skips past Branton into center. And that is a single for Lafort, and now a 19-game hitting streak.
You know, they call Albert Pujols the machine. I think Mr. Lafort is trying to take away that name. I mean, he has been basically a machine. Getting on base, extending his hitting streak to now 19 games, Roxy. The one positive is, yes, Lafort can run, and yes, he can steal bases. But with the left-handed Miller on the mound, that's a defense that Stanford has.
Mitch Berryhill walked. That one gets through Malfetta. Lafort taking a turn. He's thinking about 3. He'll stay at second base on a wild pitch.
Well, let's take a look at it. It's just a fastball down and in, and with all due respect to pitchers and Miller and Malfetta, if you can get your glove on this ball, if you're a catcher, you should catch it, Rox. Malfetta's had some issues behind the dish.
Now Lafort at second for Berryhill. It's 1-0. Activity beginning again for Stanford in the pen as Miller just missed.
How about this? You like the stash?
Isn't that awesome from Berryhill? That is phenomenal.
Well, these guys, the Titans, I mean, on an annual basis when they're in the postseason, and they're in the postseason a lot, this is the 27th straight year, they're always doing something funny with their hair.
In the air to left, hit right toward Kyle Stowers, who makes the one-handed grab. And Lafort back to second base.
And I was holding out because we were talking about the hair.
You kept me on edge here.
I did, but if you haven't noticed, the Titans like to dye their hair. Well, I found out who did it and actually where. Junior transfer Nick Ciandro's mother is a hairstylist, and Derek said she bleached their hair at the hotel. So I was close. You were making fun of me last night? I was actually close.
Ruben Cardenas, a ground out in the first inning. 2 down, Lafort at second. Titans looking to add to a 1-0 lead. And fouled out of play by Ruben Cardenas.
And that information courtesy of Steve Chin of the Big West office.
They've changed the ruling on allowing Lafort to go to second. It is a pass ball and not a wild pitch. You agree?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not picking on anybody, and listen, Malfetta is not the starting catcher.
Maverick Hanley is the regular starter for Stanford, and he's out with an injury as Bo Branton picks up the ground ball, throws out Cardenas, side retired. 1 hit, nobody left through 3. Heart of the order coming up for the Cardinal. A 1-0 lead for the Titans as we go to the 4th, and for Stanford, the heart of the order against Tanner Bybee. NCAA Regionals presented by Capital One. The host and number 2 national seed Stanford and Cal State Fullerton in this regional final will get Washington, who won the Conway, South Carolina regional. Lindsey Meggs and the Huskies, the 3 seed and at-large team out of the Pac-12, advanced to a super regional. Nico Horner tripled in the first inning. And there's ball 1. So Horner trying to reach base here to start the 4th. But what a job that Lindsey Meggs did to get Washington through in winning that regional as a 3 seed.
To tell you how close that the Huskies were to not even being in the postseason, Roxy, they had an RPI well into the 60s.
A lot of people thought they were a bubble team to get in. Now, they were awfully close, as we've talked about earlier, to winning the automatic bid for the Pac-12, which they lost in the final day of the regular season.
Well, I think many of the experts thought prior to the start of that last series against Stanford that they were on the bubble and they needed to win that series, which they won the first 2 games.
One, 2 to Horner. And that one's ball 2 in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nico Horner leading off for Stanford here in the 4th. Against Tanner Bybee. Again, Bybee making the start here for Long Beach State because of the elbow injury to Andrew Cazada, who's normally one of their weekend starters. So Bybee has been a long man, a midweek starter, getting the start here tonight in this regional final. And Horner, swing and a miss. 6 strikeouts for Tanner Bybee.
I mean, this is exactly what he's been doing with this breaking ball, and it is filthy. You see the rotation. Very, very similar to the rotation that Colton Eastman has.
And again, the hitter's trying to pick up a baseball that's going in and out of sunlight right now. Through shadows. Andrew Dashbach, he walked in the first inning. And a ball pulled foul.
Now, Andrew is one of the few Stanford hitters. Wouldn't you agree that it has had continuous good at-bats? And this is one hitter that if you're Bybee, you need to be careful with.
And he hit a long home run earlier today. That was against Baylor. So Stanford, who outlasted Wright State here Friday night in 13 innings. 4-3, knocking off the Raiders, the Horizon League champs. And then last night, losing the heartbreaker to Cal State Fullerton, putting the Titans in the winner's bracket. And Stanford having to come back in that elimination game and beat Baylor, the Big 12 tournament champs, earlier today. 2-1 on Dashbach. Playing Dashbach to pull in the outfield, and they are deep. Tanner Bybee, the 2-1. There's another foul ball.
Good sink on that fastball. You can see that Bybee is trying to keep the ball down. Take a look at David Esker. You know, Roxy, if you're Stanford, you know, you're not thinking about, hey, if we lose, the season's over, because it's just the 4th inning. But you can rest assured, if this score stays the same into the 6th inning, those thoughts start going through your mind then.
2-2 on Dashbach. Strike 3 called. 7 strikeouts for Bybee. 5 of them looking.
Well, it's just a fastball on the knees.
Maybe a bit low. Nice framing job there by Daniel Cope to bring it back up.
Are you saying there's been some questionable calls?
Yes, I'm saying it.
Okay.
Back up the middle from Stowers. Fielded. Valenzuela rifles to first. And Tanner Bybee has retired 10 in a row for Cal State Fullerton. A 1-0 lead for the Titans. We go to the bottom of the 4th. 1-0 lead for Cal State Fullerton. We go to the bottom of the 4th, middle third of the order. Cope, Valenzuela, Pavlidich due up against Eric Miller. As Daniel Cope was driven in, the only run of this game with a sac fly in the first. 22nd sacrifice fly for Cal State Fullerton this season.
They are a tremendous, fundamentally sound machine. Quite frankly, Rox, I think this is one of Rick Vanderhook's best coaching jobs he's ever had, ever done.
Ball 3. Activity again in the bullpen for Stanford. Strike called, it's 3-1. Miller's given up only one hit. He's walked one. He's hit a batter. But it's all hands on deck. Everybody needs to be on high alert down there in the bullpen with your season on the line. And he walked him to lead off the 4th inning. Cope is on. That'll bring up Zahid Valenzuela.
Well, last time a leadoff hitter got on for the Titans, it was Mr. Lafort, who led off the game, who eventually scored the lone run.
But Stanford is one of the best teams in the tournament when dealing with elimination. Look at their all-time record, the 4th best winning percentage. You have Georgia and then 3 Pac-12 teams, USC, who's won the most national championships. The Cal Bears, which David Esker used to coach, and now Stanford. In his first year on the farm, succeeding his longtime mentor, Mark Marquis. After 41 years as the Stanford head coach, a foul ball by Valenzuela.
Were you surprised to see Georgia at the top of that list? Nobody, you never would have guessed that.
Yeah, that one I wouldn't have figured out.
Nope. Having a great year this year. National seed.
Well, 3 tickets have already been punched into the Supers, including Pac-12 team Washington, Vanderbilt, and Stetson. The Hatters have gotten through. Foul ball from Valenzuela, which will make Corey Kluber very happy. Stetson alum.
The Stetsons have the #1 ERA pitching staff in the entire nation. Stanford Cardinal, #2.
I believe a balk was called. So wipe out the pitch, and a balk was called against Miller, which allows Cope to get to second base.
Second consecutive game that a balk has been called on a Stanford pitcher.
And the first game today was
Beck.
a balk against Brendan Beck.
Again, I'm not sure about this one either.
I didn't see much there.
No, look, umpiring's a tough job, Rox, but in my opinion, in the first game, Beck did nothing wrong. And there, Miller set. He's still moving, but once he sets, he's set.
Breaking ball strike. 0-2 in Valenzuela. And the corners, I expect them for Stanford to still be up here because it wouldn't shock me if Valenzuela put a bunt down here, knowing Cal State
because
Fullerton.
It's the Titans.
Corners have backed up. And Valenzuela, chopper. Back through the middle. Nico Horner goes in the air. Got him at first.
Oh, my goodness gracious, Nico.
How did he do that?
He is acrobatic. He's one of the best in the entire country. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. And athleticism like this, Roxy, is why. Wow. Watch this. Now, he catches this in the air and gets rid of it, folks. Rack 'em up, top 10, Sports Center.
And that's not a second baseman. That's a shortstop on the move from the edge of the outfield grass doing that.
Let's not forget about the speed of Zahid Valenzuela down the line.
Stanford bringing the infield in with 1 out. Cope at third. Jacob Pavlidich struck out in the second.
Squeeze is in play.
Strike one.
Wow. I tell you, Rox.
I'm still floored by that play by Horner.
I've never seen that play. I've seen a lot of plays, obviously, but I've never seen a shortstop, or for that matter, any infielder, be in the air, transfer to the hand, and release it before he hits the ground.
Fly ball to right. This should score the run as Brandon Wolf over to make the catch. Tagging. Daniel Cope races for the plate. And another sac fly for the Titans brings in a run. 2-0. Cal State Fullerton. And the leadoff walk comes around to score again.
Well, and you've got to credit Valenzuela with a 2-strike, 0-2 count. He manages to move the runner from second to third and be able to score on this sac fly by Pavlicic.
So another example of Cal State Fullerton manufacturing a run and taking advantage of what they get. A walk, a balk, ground ball moves him to third, scores on a sac fly. In the first inning, hit by pitch, walk, ground out, sac fly. 2-0 Titans, Chris Prescott, a ground out in the second. And look, we talked to John Savage, UCLA coach, last week. Talked to a number of coaches around the West. This is precisely why nobody wants to see Cal State Fullerton. Prescott drives one out toward right. Brandon Wolf toward the alley. And he makes the catch and decide to retire, but the Titans tack on a run without the benefit of a hit. We go to the fifth inning. 2-0 Cal State Fullerton. Nothing. Cal State Fullerton. Both runs have come in on sac flies for the Titans in this game. They have just one hit, and the hit had nothing to do with their runs.
This is just who these guys are. I mean, you know, when we talked to John Savage last weekend, how adamant was he about telling us it's.
Rick Vanderhook joining us, the head coach of Cal State Fullerton, and that's what you guys do, right, Hookie? You find ways to score, you manufacture runs, and you take advantage of what you got.
No, I'm happy to score 2 runs on no hits. That's a good deal, you know. But there were some productive outs in that too.
There's no question. How about the job that Saheed does on a 2-strike count, and somehow he gets inside that ball and is able to move the runner over to third?
Yeah, that's a big at bat, and you know, and then Pav comes up and hits one far enough to right to score a run. I mean, we'll take that every inning if we can get it.
Well, we were just talking about John Savage. We talked to him last weekend up in Corvallis, and he was adamant. The team he didn't want to play, if he had a choice, and the team that no one wants to play is you, Hookie. Why? Why is it?
I don't know. I want to play us.
Tanner Bybee making the start tonight. What have you seen from him so far in this freshman in the big stakes here tonight?
Doing a little better job than he did last time here. Opening weekend, I don't think he got out of the first inning against these guys. Curveball's pretty good. Locating the fastball, he's got a little mustard on it. Hope he can get through another inning or two.
Well, Hookie, you mentioned the breaking ball. It's very similar to Colton Eastman's breaking ball.
Yeah, not quite as big, but it's firm and it's tight, and he has command of it. And so at least he has 2 pitches that he's throwing, and he actually threw a pretty good changeup to the first pitch to Sowers to end last inning that he hit up to Saheed up the middle. So, you know, he's going good. He's been pitch efficient as of now.
Hookie, appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Rick Vanderhook, the head coach of Cal State Fullerton, his team leading at 2-0 in the fifth. Brandon Wolf struck out in the second. There's ball one.
Oh, yeah, by the way, Hookie's always fun to talk to.
He is.
He'd be a bad card player, wouldn't he? Great skipper.
It's funny, we were talking to him before the ball game down on the field and joking with us. He goes, hey, I got to go. I got to light my guys up.
Funny thing, he wasn't joking.
Foul ball by Brandon Wolf. Stanford has only one hit so far, and that was a triple by Nico Horner in the first inning, as Tanner Bybee has retired 10 straight. He has struck out 7. He's walked 1 batter. And this is a freshman stepping in for the Titans. Wolf punches it into right field. Leadoff single for the Cardinal, hit number 2, and that's a good piece of hitting.
It was a great job of hitting. I don't like to use the term kept his hands inside the baseball, because nobody's ever hit a baseball where their hands weren't inside the ball. But this is a good job right here. Finding a 3-4 hole, and again, the Cardinal, not a lot of singles. They had 23 hits coming into this game. 13 rocks were for extra base hits.
9 doubles, triple, and a homer from Dashbach here in this regional. Will Matheson, the DH, struck out in the second inning. Bybee from the stretch, which he hasn't had to work out of very much so far today.
Well, Stanford knows 15 outs is what they have to score 3 runs.
Pavlidich holding Wolf over there at first base. Low to Matheson. Wolf has just 1 steal on the year.
It's set up, Rocks, if Matheson reaches, and then you have Malfetta on deck.
And Malfetta hit a long way his first at bat.
Well, he did, but I think a sacrifice is in order, although he failed in a previous opportunity.
He bunted into a double play, trying to sacrifice earlier against Baylor. Bybee the 1-1. Swing and a miss by Matheson.
Yeah, Matheson is not seeing this breaking ball. He had trouble with it his first at bat.
Frankly, with the shadows going on right now, I think it's pretty difficult for anybody to pick up the baseball.
I don't know, Rox.
Is it just me?
Yeah, I think it's just you. You just deal with it if you're a hitter. The Beavers, Oregon State up 6-0 over LSU. Elimination game for LSU.
After Oregon State beat him, as Matheson takes a called strike 3. Oregon State beat him yesterday 14-1. As Matheson caught looking, and Bybee's tied a career high with 8 strikeouts.
Well, Matheson's shaking his head, Rocks, but I will tell you this. Bybee should be happy that Matheson did not swing at this hanging breaking ball.
One gone for Malfetta. A fly out in the second to the wall.
You know, when you've had a stagnant offense, Roxy, I mean, this is a good time to put your runner in motion. Maybe run a hit and run. Get some traffic on the bases and hopefully find a hole. Because station to station has not worked for the Cardinal.
Bybee at 62 pitches. Here with 1 out in the 5th inning. The winner of this regional will get the Washington Huskies in the Super Regionals. And Cal State Fullerton can wrap up this regional with a win tonight. David Esker's club has to win tonight to force a game tomorrow night for their chance to win the regional. Double elimination format with Cal State Fullerton 2-0, Stanford 2-1 after their win against Baylor earlier today. 1-0 on Malfetta. Again, playing for the injured Maverick Handley. And Malfetta taps it foul.
Well, I tell you what, if Rick Vanderhook, if you told him, all right, here's what's going to happen. Bybee's going to give you 5 shutout innings, he would have paid somebody for this result. Because you got to understand, this is advantage the Titans when it comes to pitching staff. When you're 2-0 in a regional, you're always going to have an advantage with your pitching staffs. But remember, Blake Workman did not throw yesterday. He's available. Brett Canine did throw yesterday, but
he did throw 3 innings. 1-1. 1-2.
But when if you're in the dugout, if you're hooky, you know you got Blake Workman, a horse in the back end of the bullpen that on any other team, Roxy, he'd be the closer.
Do you even think about tomorrow if you're Cal State Fullerton? No, in terms of not trying to force it because you know you have another game in your back pocket.
Absolutely not. You got to win this game right now. Right now, tonight, you do everything in your powers to win this game if you're Fullerton.
That's high to Malfetta.
Now, of course, the fan, they want that game tomorrow. They want that matchup with possibly Eastman and Tristan Beck, possibly.
Not the Cal State Fullerton fan.
Correct.
They want it done tonight.
They want it now.
2-2 on Malfetta. Wolf the runner at first. Tanner Bybee. Malfetta skies this one foul, giving chase. Pavlidich racing over toward the grassy knoll. Gets out of play. Count holds at 2-2. And Wolf back to first base. Again, activity in the Stanford bullpen. No activity down Cal State Fullerton way.
You know how I think about this stuff, Rox. It's always, if you're going to win a regional, the guy you'd least expect has to come up with a big hit.
Strike 3 called again. 9 strikeouts for Bybee, a career high. And 7 of the 9 looking, and again, the Stanford hitters frustrated with the home plate umpire, Brandon Cooper.
Well, for me, Rox, it's just too close to take. I mean, it's right there on the inside part of the plate. For me, with 2 strikes.
And the way he's been calling it tonight.
You just can't have I mean, as a hitter, you get a sense that an umpire's got a loose zone behind the dish. You got to put that into your computer and say, you know what, anything close, I have to make an offer at.
Alec Wilson, the batter. He's 0 for 1 with a fly out. Brandon Wolf at first base, 2 down.
Now, if this was pro ball, Rocks, I would say at some point in time, Skipper would come out and try to get thrown out.
But the problem is if you get thrown out.
No, I know. Pro ball.
You're out
right.
If you win.
Correct.
For the next game.
In college.
Yes.
If it was pro ball, which is why I prefaced it with pro ball.
Backdoor breaking ball.
Now that's a ball right there.
Not according to Brandon Cooper, it's not.
Correct, but that's a ball.
You know what? Give Tanner Bybee credit. He knows.
Doesn't have to throw it down the middle?
How this strike zone's being called. And he's maneuvering it. He's taking advantage of it. Fouled away by Alec Wilson, and it's 0-2. Two down here in the top of the 5th inning. So David Esker trying to find some offense, trying to get his team going here. They've been handcuffed by Tanner Bybee so far.
They're down to 13 outs, Roxy. Just 13.
One and two. Leadoff single. Wolf is still at first base after a couple of strikeouts looking. Bybee stares in at Daniel Cope. Here it comes. Called strike 3 again, the backdoor breaking ball. 3 straight strikeouts looking for Bybee, who has struck out 10. 8 observing tonight is Bybee and Cal State Fullerton on a roll, and Stanford hitters right now off balance. Well, a lot happened in the inning break here as we go to the bottom of the 5th. 2-0, Stanford trailing Cal State Fullerton. The Cardinal have changed pitchers, but this is Tommy Nicholson, third base coach for Stanford, who was thrown out by plate umpire Brandon Cooper. They're in between the top and the bottom, along with Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you. And David Esker, I know you got a lot in your hands right now and frustrating clearly, but the emotions right now running a little high?
Yeah, a little bit. We're pretty frustrated at this point. Yeah, we've taken quite a few called third strikes, and our guys are just getting frustrated, and that's unlike us. And we haven't done that all year long. So, yeah, it's kind of heat of the moment.
How do you keep your composure when emotions are running like this?
Well, that's what they pay me for, is to kind of keep my composure at these times, to make sure these kids, keep their poise as well. So that's my job, and if need be, I got to make sure I stick around too. And
well, Esky, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We're not worried about you staying calm, but with that being said, you're down to 12 outs. I mean, is this something where you bring your club together in the dugout and say, hey, we got four innings left.
Sure.
Let it go.
Yeah, for sure. We've got to stop worrying about the umpiring and make sure we put some good at bats together and scrap this thing. This may be our last time together, and we want to make sure we make it quality.
Well, Miller, your lefty, he struggled a little bit early, but he's kind of settled in here and given you an opportunity to win this game.
Miller did a good job. It's tough because sometimes, the walk and the hit batter didn't allow them to score without a hit. And, that's being able to offense. They've done a good job of that. They've had 2 guys on at third base, and they drove them both in with the fly ball. So, that's a great job of execution on their part. We've just got to string some hits together.
Esker will let you go. I know you got a lot to focus on.
Okay, thanks.
David Esker, the coach of the Cardinal. The called strike is Austin Weiermiller in the game now, taking over for Eric Miller on the mound. 4 innings from Eric Miller, giving up 2 runs, just 1 hit. A couple of walks with a strikeout and a balk. Inside from Weiermiller is Eric Miller through 65 pitches. It's Weiermiller, a 5'11 freshman from Milton, Georgia. 23rd appearance, 5-1, and a 2.75 ERA. Strike call, 2-2 on Brett Borgonio here with 1 out. And look, he was being diplomatic, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
We could get a sense of the frustration he was feeling. He's clearly not happy with Brandon Cooper, the plate umpire.
Not at all. I don't blame him right now. I really don't. That is a strike, and it's been a strike.
And here comes David Esker.
Yeah,
and he's got to watch it.
He's got to be careful, but when Malfetta
he's not arguing balls and strikes right here. That's not what he's doing. He's upset at the plate umpire, Brandon Cooper, for talking to his catcher.
And I don't blame him. I tell you what. We can defend umpires, and we have on many games, Roxy, but this is a strike, and it's a strike all day, and it has been for the Titans.
It's got to go both ways.
It has to, and you hate to see this. You really hate to see this in an elimination game. It's a tough job. We understand it. But there's a lot on the line, and you can't blame the players for getting a little bent out of shape. I mean, we're talking about Malfetta, Rocks, behind the dish, who just got rung up on a similar pitch. But he's got to be careful himself. He's a young kid, and you cannot be turning around looking at an umpire.
And again, during the inning break, third base coach for Stanford, Tommy Nicholson, was thrown out of the game. As Weiermiller in the dirt, and Borgonio draws a 1-out walk. And Thomas Eager, the Stanford pitching coach, will go calm down Austin Wireman.
And this is a great trip by Thomas. And they're going to bring in everybody in. You at some point in time, it's now. You got to regroup. You got to let it go. Your season's on the line, and you can't let your emotions. You see the laughing? This is exactly what Thomas Eager is out there. He's getting these kids to laugh, to change their mindset. Like, we got it. We can get this done. Let's have some fun.
And Thomas Eager better watch what he does here as the plate umpire Brandon Cooper coming out to the mound.
He's not going to go anywhere near. He's just
didn't even look at him.
No, he's going to let Brandon Cooper walk out, not acknowledge that he's even there.
That's the thing is, and it's something you don't see from this Stanford team. They're not a group that loses their cool. And right now they are clearly bent out of shape and frustrated by what has transpired. One out, a runner at first, back to the top of the order, and Hank LaForte. LaForte singled in the third. He was hit by a pitch and scored in the first inning. That's ball one. So an opportunity here for the Titans to break it open. And the way this game's playing out, 2-0 seems a lot like 5-0.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Ball two from Wiremiller.
Stanford just 8 runs the entire regional, Roxy. Fullerton again has not trailed in any game.
Move to first. Two 2-0 the count on LaForte. The catalyst for this Titans offense. One out, Borgonio the runner, and a half swing, and LaForte may have offered it ball three. And it's 2-1. There is activity in the Stanford bullpen as sidewinder Zach Gretsch getting loose. Wiremiller, he's been up since the first inning. He's thrown about 5 innings already down to the bullpen.
Well, right now, in an elimination game, Rox, if you asked and you went down to the pen and David Esker said who can throw, unanimous, everybody will raise their arm. They understand how.
I got you, Skip.
Yeah, it's just the way it is right now.
3-1. On deck is Mitch Berryhill. And he walked him. Back-to-back walks with one out. Borgonio to second. LaForte aboard for the third time tonight. And that'll bring up Mitch Berryhill, who walked in the first and is 0 for 1.
Well, I would imagine that Stanford's going to leave Wiremiller in the game to face the left-handed Berryhill. I am not so sure about Cardenas on deck and Cope on deck, both right-hand hitters.
They're the numbers for the Stanford pen here in this regional.
But you see, what do you see that sticks out? The 6 walks, which is very uncharacteristic of a Stanford pitcher.
So back-to-back walks issued by Austin Wiremiller here. 2 on, 1 out. Critical spot in this game. Bunted in the air, but foul off the bat of Berryhill.
And you have to expect this. You really do, and it's a very good idea by Berryhill. Now keep in mind, in day 1, Roxy, Rick Vanderhook bunted a runner over from first with 1 out. And yes, if you're wondering, did that run score? Absolutely, and 2 more after that.
You make a mistake against them, they make you pay for it.
But it's a great idea by Berryhill. You got a left-hand pitcher on the mound. He falls off towards third base. Berryhill trying to pull a bunt down the first base line.
There's another ground ball foul from Berryhill, and it's 0-2.
But I tell you what, when you play this Fullerton team this year, again, we've talked about the lack of power, but they have a ton of speed, and you got speed on the bases right now. And if you're playing in the outfield with this Berryhill up right now, you have to play shallow enough, Roxy, that you have an opportunity to throw out the runner. And if you take a look at Wolf in right field, for me, too deep.
0-2 the count. Weiermiller could use a ground ball right here. Berryhill runs well. Long look in from Weiermiller, now ready to work. Here it comes. Breaking ball hit in the air to right. Playable for Brandon Wolf. And he's there to grab it in the runner's retreat.
Well, let's see if Stanford goes out and brings in the right-hander to face Cardenas.
So Ruben Cardenas 0 for 2 with a couple of ground outs tonight. They're 2 on and 2 out in the last of the 5th inning.
So far, not coming. Talk about key points of this game. You're looking at one right now.
If Weiermiller can wiggle out of this, Stanford could try to ride that wave of emotion and try to channel it.
I agree.
Strike call.
I know he's only got 3 home runs, Rox, but Cardenas has the power to hit it over the trees. I said that about Jumbo last night.
Yes, you did. And it came to fruition for Jumbo. Nice job by Malfetta to keep it in front of him. One and one the count. Runners lead. Borgonio at second, LaFord at first, the 1-1. Up and away.
Well, now you're in the danger zone right now. Cardenas can look fastball, cheat a little bit. Now, again, his best power is to right center. But this is where you can cheat a little bit. If you get the fastball, don't miss it. If it's a changeup, you look bad, so what?
Line to left, toward the line. This is gone. Cardenas, a 3-run homer. Ruben Cardenas, his 4th of the year. And a 5-0 lead for Cal State Fullerton. Just the 13th home run for the Titans this season, and each of the last 2 have been enormous.
Well, it's a hanging breaking ball. They elect to throw the breaking ball, and again, I mentioned that Cardenas' power is to right center. And it's a hanging breaking ball, and he's got pop, and he hit it in the trees.
Daniel Cope coming up. Takes a strike from Weiermiller. So now Stanford finds themselves in a huge hole. And it's 0-2 on Daniel Cope. Cope a sac fly in the first, walked and scored in the fourth inning, so he has not registered an at-bat. Fouled off by Cope.
I will say this right now. I mean, knowing this Stanford club, Roxy, knowing the David Esker club, they will not quit, and you can bet they're not going to make it easy for the Titans in the next 4 innings.
Fouled back to the screen.
We've seen some tremendous comebacks, Roxy, already in regionals.
Oh, 2 on Cope here with 2 down. Austin Weiermiller the pitch. And he got him, struck him out, but the damage is done for Cal State Fullerton. Ruben Cardenas, a 3-run homer. The Titans have only 2 hits, but they're up 5-0.
They are. The junior shows a little pop. Hits it out to left, and a big 5-0 lead for a team that always seems to win in the postseason.
Well, Tanner Bybee has been terrific on the mound for the Titans. The freshman has struck out a career best 10.
Well, he has, and he's relied on this breaking ball. It's been filthy. Strike zone, yes, a little bit expanded, it seems. But you had mentioned it, Roxy, that with the expanded strike zone, he has taken advantage of it. He has realized he doesn't have to throw the ball right down the middle, and he has eaten up Stanford hitters on the corners.
They need base runners, the Cardinal.
At all costs.
Strike to Branton, and it's 0-2. So 10 strikeouts for Bybee, a career best. 8 of them have been looking. And the freshman has been dialed in from the outset tonight. Cardinal have only 2 hits. A triple by Horner in the first inning and a leadoff single by Wolf in the 5th. That's it. He has walked just 1. One and 2 on Bo Branton. There's a ground ball towards short. Valenzuela goes off his glove, has no play. Branton is on. Infield hit. That's a start for the Cardinal.
Well, it is, and it's exactly what you need, a leadoff hitter getting on. And check it, Roxy, take a look at his left eye, and that's where he got hit yesterday on the cheek on that ground ball.
Now he's got the protective flap.
Yes.
A little bit of a shiner, it looks like. So a 3-run homer by Cardenas, making it a 5-0 lead, and we have some activity in the Cal State Fullerton bullpen.
Well, Rick Vanderhook's been around the block. He understands the game. And yes, they just got a big 3-run home run, put them up 5-0, but right off the bat, the leadoff hitter gets on.
So in the bullpen, Blake Workman just getting up. Tim Tawa takes ball 1 as Bybee may have stumbled a bit on that pitch.
And there's Blake. Could be a closer on any other team. Brett Conine is the closer normally for the Titans, but effectively you have a closer in the bullpen right now.
Tim Tawa 0 for 2 tonight. One and 1.
Just a big swing right there, Rox. And again, you just have to, you got to change your mentality if you're a Stanford hitter. You got to understand we're down 5 runs. Any way possible, anything I can do to get on base. That's it. You got to be willing to go deep in the count. Can't be over swinging.
1-1 the count. Branton the runner at first for Stanford. They're chasing 5 here in the 6th. The pitch. Hard liner. Valenzuela spears it for Cal State Fullerton. And Tawa is retired.
Remember that play. Watch this. This is what it looks like from home plate. And Saheed Valenzuela, boy, he's a joy to watch, isn't he, Rox? He's got a lot of energy. He can play that position. Not tall in stature, but big on a baseball field.
1 gone for Nico Horner, who tripled in the first. 1 for 2 tonight for the Stanford shortstop. Tanner Bybee the pitch. And a strike to Horner.
Well, if you're wondering, Roxy, the 3 seed in the Coastal Regional won that, and that's
Washington.
And if this score holds here, the 3 seed would be Cal State Fullerton. So they have to play a super regional.
Ground ball at third. Borgonio to second. The turn by LaForte, double play. Cal State Fullerton goes around the horn. Tanner Bybee, 6 scoreless innings for the Titans. And getting picked up by his defense.
Well, no question, and Borgonia has been super solid in this regional. The 5, the 4, 3 double play. The ESPN networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage on ESPN2, ESPNU, the Longhorn Network, SEC Network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. All coverage is available on the ESPN app.
Austin Weiermiller delivers ball 1. Here in the bottom of the 6th, Valenzuela, Pavlidich, Prescott, 5, 6, and 7 for Cal State Fullerton. Leading at 5-0 here.
But we were talking about if this score holds, you'll have 2 number 3 seeds that have to play in a super regional. And if you're wondering who gets the home field to host that regional, our fine gentleman Jeremy Mills from ESPN has told me that it's determined by the NCAA through a bidding process prior to the regionals being started. And we won't know until they announce it.
Cal State Fullerton trying to get to a regional or a super regional for a 14th time, which would be the second most behind Florida State. Florida State has been 16. Right now the Titans and LSU have each been 13 times to a super. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that LSU is not going to get to a super.
Okay.
Now they still have a chance.
Yes.
Because they're still playing as a strike to Valenzuela. But they trail Oregon State 6-0 in Corvallis in the 6th inning. As the Beavers a win tonight, and they are through to the Super Regionals, the number 3 national seed. The number 2 national seed in real trouble here on the farm as Weiermiller gets a strikeout of Valenzuela. And there's 1 out.
For more coverage of Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, go to NCAA.com as you see the good run on the fastball from Weiermiller. But Rox, I mean, we've talked about the Big West Conference over the years, and of course this game is not over, but if this score holds, it will be at least the
left side on the move, Tawa. And the freshman handles it 2 away.
The 5th consecutive year that a Big West team has reached a super regional.
And how about the 2nd consecutive year that Cal State Fullerton would come out of the Stanford regional?
And the 3rd time out of 4 years that they've gone to a super. I mean, have we talked enough about the Titans program?
And you wonder why nobody wants to see them in their regional.
This is exactly why, folks. It does. Take a look at Rick.
Talking to Brett Canine. Strike called to Chris Prescott.
But you'd like to
He is 0 for 2.
Excuse me, Rock, but it's fair to say advantage Fullerton right now with both Workman and possibly the way that conversation was going.
Well, Canine just went down to the bullpen.
Yeah. Well, that's Canine saying, trust me, I'm okay. But this is a game, obviously, that you want to empty the tank to win.
Good pitch from Weiermiller. Called strike 3. And a 1-2-3 inning for Austin Weiermiller. We head to the 7th. Andrew Dashbach leading it off for the Cardinal. Stanford needs to get some runs in a hurry. 5-0, Cal State Fullerton leading. We go to the 7th here at the Stanford Regional. The Regional is presented by Capital One. And the Stanford Regional winner will match up against the Conway, South Carolina Regional winner, Washington. As the Huskies beating the other Huskies as they knocked off UConn to win that regional hosted by Coastal Carolina, the 2016 national champions. Andrew Dashbach leads off the 7th and drills it foul.
That Coastal team, I had the privilege of doing their regional in North Carolina State, and they were literally 2 inches from being eliminated by a diving catch by the right fielder, and they were a joy to watch. I mean, I say this affectionately, a bunch of dirtbags who knew how to play the game, not to be confused with Long Beach.
Foul ball from Dashbach.
But they were a joy to watch. Exciting, weren't afraid to get dirty.
Oh and 2 on Dashbach. Walked into first, struck out looking in the 4th. The 0-2. He laid off, ball 1.
What more can we say about Bybee that we haven't said? It's just sensational.
And again, he's only pitching this game because Andrew Quezada is hurt. A right elbow strain has him out, so Bybee pressed into the number 3 starter role, and he is excelled to say the least. Foul ball from Dashbach, and just a note on the Huskies of Washington getting to a super regional. It is the first regional championship for the Washington Huskies.
And again, a bubble team, to say the least. And here they are, into the super regional.
So congratulations to Lindsey Meggs and the Dogs.
And if the score holds up in Corvallis, that'll be the second Pac-12 team to reach a super.
Oregon State leading 6-0 on LSU. As Dashbach takes ball 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Oregon State is seeking their 7th super regional appearance. With that win, if they can get it over LSU. And the Beavers have reached the College World Series in 5 of their previous 6 trips to the Supers. Bybee's 2-2. Tied him up. 11 strikeouts for Tanner Bybee, 1 gone.
You see Bybee kind of peer in there, kind of long after that one?
I think he's feeling it right now?
I guess that's what it looks like when you're feeling it. Now, take a look at Bybee after this pitch. Can't see it right here, but he is staring in, and he's still staring in.
Ball 1 to Kyle Stowers.
Now, we've talked about the rivalry that the Titans have with Long Beach State. Don't you kind of sense there's another one going on between these two?
Well, it's the second most played matchup in the history of the postseason. And Fullerton has had Stanford's number as of late. Okay, Stanford swept the regular season series to open the year, but the Titans winning the Stanford Regional last year and knocking off the Cardinal twice along the way, including what was Mark Marquis's final game. And then this year, if they can hold on here after the dramatic walk-off they had last night. Kyle Stowers 0 for 2. There's a ground ball to second. Hank Lafort on to first, 2 outs. Brandon Wolf coming up 1 for 2. So here's what's at stake. The number 2 national seed in real trouble here on their home field. Trying to avoid being eliminated by the Titans for the second consecutive season. Cal State Fullerton trying to get to a super regional for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Brandon Wolf singled in the 5th. He is 1 for 2. The pitch just missed to Wolf.
I really am so impressed with both of these clubs, but the Titans, it's just amazing how they do this year after year after year.
There's a liner to left from Wolf. That's a fair ball. All the way to the wall. Dug out by Jarris Richards. And a 2-out double for Brandon Wolf. 4th hit for Stanford. Wolf has 2 of them. And for Brandon Wolf, just his 4th double of the year.
Well, it's a fastball, and he doesn't miss it. The minute this leaves the bat, he's thinking 2. And as minuscule as this may seem, Roxy, Stanford needs to get a run on the board just to feel good about themselves.
So Wolf at second base, 2 down. Will Matheson coming up.
Last time I checked, you need 27 outs to win a game. Stanford still has 7 more.
Matheson has struck out twice looking. On the ground toward the hole, gets through. David Esker, who is now coaching third, will hold Brandon Wolf. Matheson a single. And David Esker again is coaching third because his third base coach, Tommy Nicholson, was thrown out a couple of innings ago.
Well, it's a great job of coaching third. I mean, this is something you don't forget. Your instincts come through, and the reason he's got to hold up Wolf, number one, it was hit hard, and number two, he's chasing 5 runs.
So now an offensive meeting for the Cardinal as David Esker bringing the guys over on the first base side. As Stanford with 2 on and 2 out, and Christian Malfetta due up. And again, Malfetta is in there because the regular catcher, Maverick Handley, is out with an injury, and it appears that Stanford will go to a pinch hitter, and it looks like Nick Orr will come up.
And you know what? Sometimes you got to roll the dice. I mean, David Esker knows he needs runs, and he'll deal with whoever he's going to put behind the dish to catch the next inning. What I'm wondering about, Roxy, is when do they make the move for Blake Workman in the bullpen? And we're getting a trip right now to the mound by the pitching coach, Steve Rousey.
Nick Orr has come up with some big hits for the Cardinal. As the sophomore, 333, 4 for 12 with 3 home runs. As Steve Rousey out to the mound, and that will be it. Tanner Bybee gone after 6 2/3, a career best 11 strikeouts, and Blake Workman coming out of the bullpen for Cal State Fullerton. New pitcher is Blake Workman for the Titans here. Runners at the corners for Stanford, 2 outs. 6 2/3 from Tanner Bybee. He struck out 11, walked 1, giving up so far no runs on 5 hits. He's responsible for Brandon Wolf at third base, Will Matheson at first, and Nick Orr coming up to pinch hit. Workman, who is making his second appearance of this Stanford Regional, picked up the save in the first game here Friday afternoon. Went 2 innings, giving up 1 hit and a couple of strikeouts.
Well, it's no mystery what you're going to see from Workman. You're going to see a firm fastball from 92 to 95. He does have a hard breaking ball to go along with that, but his bread and butter is here it comes, and if you can hit it, hit it.
And Nick Orr is a guy that can hit it. He's 4 for 12 on the season with 3 home runs. All of them pinch hit homers, including one against Oregon State that tied the game in Corvallis a few weeks ago. And he also had 2 against Utah.
Now, don't call me crazy here, but there are some that have been in this game a long time that believe you don't want the 3-run home run now. You want traffic on the bases.
Ball 1 missing with a breaking ball.
I'm not sure I subscribe to that because I'll take any run when I can get it.
1-0 on Orr. Batting for the catcher, Malfetta.
But we have had some dramatic home runs in this regional,
including one that beat Stanford last night.
Big three-run job in this game by Cardenas.
Ball 2 to Nick Orr.
Now this falls right into advantage Orr. This is where if you're Orr, you look fastball, you get it, don't miss it, and let it go.
Two and 0 the count. Workman, the pitch. Orr swings and taps it foul to plate.
Boy, Rox, you get a chance to look at the eyes of Orr. I mean, he was just locked.
You think he's dialed in?
Oh, he was locked and loaded. I mean, you're talking about somebody that understands what's going on right here. It's somebody that's been successful in this type of moment, pitch hitting, and being successful coming off the bench, pitch hitting, and hitting home runs coming off the bench, pitch hitting. Look at those eyes. He is locked in.
Two and 1 on the pinch hitter Orr. Blake Workman. And time is granted late by plate umpire Brandon Cooper.
If the balls and strikes weren't enough, right?
Two and 2.
Or just wasn't ready there, and it was just because you could see it. You could see it in his body, how he's reacting. Workman just set a little bit longer than he did on the previous pitch, and now Orr goes from a 2-0 advantage to now you just got to battle.
And it's in the dirt, knocked down by a lunging Cope and a full count.
Pretty big pitch coming up right now, Rox.
3 and 2. Stanford crowd trying to get into it. They have not had much to cheer about tonight. Ball 4, they're loaded. And Alec Wilson coming up for the Cardinal.
What a great at-bat by Orr, Rox. Talking about somebody that comes off the bench, has been sitting the entire game, comes off, gets in the box to face somebody that's throwing mid-90 fastball with a good breaking ball and didn't get fooled and saw every pitch.
Alec Wilson 0 for 2 tonight. A fly out and a strikeout.
Don't look now, Roxy, but a base hit tying run comes to the plate.
It appears that Brett Canine has gotten up in the bullpen for Cal State Fullerton.
We knew they were going to make a run, and every team is going to make a run no matter how dismal it looks. And this is the run so far.
They're loaded for the Cardinal. To center, Alec Wilson, a base hit. Around third, here comes Matheson. Throw is cut, hung up his oar in between second and third. Orr runs to third base, and he's out trying to go to third. It is a 2-run single for Wilson, and a disastrous base running blunder by Stanford.
I tell you what, I mean, David Esker's face tells you all you need to know. But a big time hit by Wilson. It's 5-2. A lot more baseball to be played.
Pinch hitter for Cal State Fullerton as we go to the bottom of the 7th. 5-2, the Titans lead it. And last night's hero, Jace Chamberlain, jumbo pinch hitting for the Titans. He hit the walk-off shot here last night. 326 for Chamberlain, and the freshman fouls it off at home plate. New catcher for Stanford after Nick Orr pinch hit for Christian Malfetta. Bryce Carter now catching.
Well, this is what happened last night. The bottom of the 9th, Rick Vanderhook says, you know what, Jumbo? Get up there and hit it over the trees. He said, no, I hit it off the scoreboard, and there's the walk-off for the freshman.
So Jumbo won it for Cal State Fullerton last night. And now pinch hitting here for Jarris Richards, leading off the bottom of the 7th against Austin Weiermiller.
It's, you know, I keep talking about it's the greatest game in the world. Prior to that pitch that Jumbo hit out last night, fair to say that 99.9% of the collegiate baseball fans had no clue who Jumbo was? In one swing, the whole world now knows who Jumbo is.
2-2. Line foul by Chamberlain. So Stanford got a pair in the top of the inning, but a huge base running miscue ran them out of the inning.
You don't think Jumbo could do it 2 times in a row, do you?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, at least you're not going to tell me Jumbo doesn't have any home runs this year.
He's got 1 home run.
He's got 1 now.
Driven foul.
What a good kid he is, too. We've been down there around him. He embraces it.
So happy-go-lucky.
He is. He's a great teammate, understands his role.
Two. Called strike 3, and Chamberlain caught looking at the knees. Weiermiller with a strikeout. That is his 4th since coming in. And there's 1 away. And there seems to be, even with running into an out, some life now with the Cardinal.
There's no question about it. And this is a great pitch by Weiermiller on the outside part to lock up.
Brett Borgonio walked and scored in the 5th. As Thomas Eager, the pitching coach for Stanford, heading to the mound.
Well, when you think about it, Roxy, prior to that big base hit by Orr, I mean, Stanford had no runs at all. So now they've got a 3-run deficit and 6 outs to go. And it wouldn't be the first time Stanford has overcome a 3-run deficit.
Pitching change for the Cardinal. They go to the sidewinder. Zach Gretsch coming in, 5-2 Titans. 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th as the Cardinal go to the bullpen again. They bring in the sidewinding righty Zach Gretsch here with 1 out. And Brett Borgonio coming up for Cal State Fullerton. As Gretsch, sophomore from Las Vegas. 2.78 ERA. He's been busy this year.
Yeah, you see the 27 appearances, but only 32 innings.
So here is Borgonio. He takes a strike from Gretsch.
But you're right, Rox. Right now, the Cardinal just want to get this out, get back in the batter's box.
One strike pitch to right, and it sinks in, and it skips. Over to pick it up and dig it out is Brandon Wolf, and that's a double to right from Brett Borgonio.
Well, you see it. It's actually in on him. Fights it off. Typical Titan double, right?
So one away. Runner at second, Hank LaFord, who's reached all 3 times tonight.
And the machine of the Titans.
Extending his on-base streak to 41 consecutive games. And the hit streak up to 19. Strike to LaFort. Gretsch the pitch, way outside.
Big time at bat right here.
Gretsch has got to put up a 0 here for Stanford. Foul back and out of play. As the Titans building a 5-0 lead, getting a run in the first, Hank LaFort was hit by a pitch. He scored on a sac fly from Daniel Cope. Titans added it another run in the 4th inning. A leadoff walk to Cope, scored on Jake Pavlidic's sacrifice fly. And then Ruben Cardenas hit a 3-run shot in the 5th, his 4th home run of the year, giving Cal State Fullerton a 5-0 lead. Stanford getting 2 in the top of this inning.
This is when LaFort is most dangerous with 2 strikes. Why? Doesn't strike out. He knows he's got to put the ball in play.
One-two pitch. On the ground to first. Roll to Dashbach. Underhands to Gretsch the bag. To third goes Borgonio. Two away for Mitch Berryhill.
Now you know what's in play here with 2 outs and Berryhill up, right?
Everything.
Everything's in play.
He could bunt for a hit.
When you take a look at Dashbach, they're just moving him in right now because this is what you have to do against Berryhill. And this is when you play a Cal State Fullerton team, everything is in play. And Berryhill can fly. A bunt for a hit is in play 100%.
So runner at third, 2 down. Stanford will have the top of the order due up in the 8th. Gretsch blew it by him for strike 1. Again ready is Zach Gretsch. Just missed. 1-1 the count.
Looking ahead, Stanford at the top of their order. Branton.
Tap foul at home plate.
Minnesota took care of UCLA, Rocks.
They did. Golden Gophers. In Minneapolis advance to the Super Regionals. Cal State Fullerton can close this one out. They'll move on to the Super Regionals. Gretsch the 1-2. Line foul. One and two the count. Rick Vanderhook and the Titans looking to add a run here. Already up 5-2. The pitch. Chased it down on strikes, and Gretsch gets the strikeout as the Titans strand Brett Borgonio at third base. 5-2, Cal State Fullerton through 7. And despite the Titans only having 3 hits in the ballgame. As we take a look at our game summary from this one, it has been an interesting ballgame to say the least. As Cal State Fullerton building that 5-0 lead. Ruben Cardenas, a 3-run homer in the 5th inning. Stanford got a couple back on a 2-run single from Alec Wilson in the 7th, but running into an out to take them out of the inning there in the top half of the 7th inning. And here is the at-bat by Cardenas.
Well, it was a hanging breaking ball, Rocks. He hooked it right down the left field line, and at the time gave the Titans a 5-0 lead and ignited that Titan dugout. But then just like that, Wilson drives in. It's a single to center and knocks in 2, but unfortunately on that single, Orr, who had the big pinch hit preceding Wilson's hit, gotten a rundown in between second and third, and the inning was over.
Well, the Cardinal need to try to find some of the magic from that pineapple. They need it. Down 5-2, and it's been a frustrating night for Stanford. As we saw earlier in the game, Tommy Nicholson, Stanford's third base coach, thrown out of the game, said something to plate umpire Brandon Cooper, and the frustration boiled over for Stanford as they were fed up with what they believed were some calls that did not go their way and some questionable strike 3 calls. As Tanner Bybee for Cal State Fullerton was terrific tonight. The freshman gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, 6 2/3, struck out a career-high 11. 8 of those were looking. And I think that's where the frustration came from Nicholson and the Cardinal.
Well, I think it started in the first inning. The strike 3 call on Stowers when the Cardinal had runners at second and third. And for both me and you, we're not lying. It was a good 1.5 to 2 feet outside.
Bo Branton leads it off, top of the order for Stanford here. Branton 1 for 3 against Blake Workman as Branton takes ball 1. Along with Wes Clements and our ESPN crew, Roxy Bernstein with you from Sunken Diamond. Game 6 of the Stanford Regional. Cal State Fullerton can close out this regional with a win tonight. Stanford has to come back and win to force a Game 7 tomorrow. Strike to Branton. Here comes the 1-1. 2-1 now on Bo Branton, the senior from Hawaii.
Yeah, Bo can't be afraid to go deep in the count here. I mean, Stanford needs base runners. They're down to 6 outs.
Three and 1 on Branton.
And yes, this is an automatic take. But again, the toughest out, obviously, to get out of a game is the 27th out. But the toughest game to win is the clincher.
Number 2 national seed Stanford trying to rally here late against the Titans bullpen. 3 and 1 on Branton. Workman, the pitch. 3 and 2. Defensive change, by the way, for Cal State Fullerton.
Well, you see the run on the fastball away. But for me, Roxy,
It's just not a good pitch to swing at when you're down 3 runs and the count's 3-1.
Jordan Hernandez now in left field. Branton pops it up behind first. Tough play. It falls in, foul.
Swung at ball 4 there.
You can't take any chances considering the way we've seen the strike zone call tonight.
You are correct.
Full count on Branton leading it off. Hernandez slotted into the 8th spot in the order after Chamberlain hit for Jarris Richards in the bottom of the 7th. Struck him out. 1 gone.
Well, you see the frustration on Branton, and I know he knows that he swung at ball 4. I mean, this is up. Yes, Rox, you had mentioned you're not sure tonight if it's a ball or a strike, but that is well out of the strike zone, and it's uncharacteristic of Branton. He's a leadoff hitter. He's had a great year.
One out here in the 8th. Tim Taua, strike 1. He's 0 for 3 tonight, lined out to short in the 6th. And 2 as a breaking ball snapped in there.
Isn't it amazing, Roxy, this game? I mean, we're talking about a potential runner on first with no outs, and we're swinging at ball 4, and then the next hitter right off the bat is 0-2. It just changes the momentum.
Taua, strike 3. Two gone in the 8th for Nico Horner.
It's just that good fastball that Workman has.
Horner 1 for 3, tripled in the 1st inning. Stanford is out hitting Cal State Fullerton 6-3, but a 5-2 lead for the Titans. Two outs here in the top of the 8th inning. Ball 1 to Horner. Canine still up in the pen. Foul back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Junior Horner. It's Workman. Took over to finish off the 7th inning. Here's a fly ball to right off the bat of Horner. Having trouble is Cardenas in right. Initially didn't see it in the twilight. We welcome those of you just joining us to Sunken Diamond. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning of Game 6 of the Stanford Regional, along with Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you on a beautiful night in the Bay Area. Cal State Fullerton, despite only 3 hits tonight, has a 5-2 lead on the Stanford Cardinal. A win by the Titans. They go through to the Super Regionals for the 3rd time in the last 4 years, while for Stanford they need a dramatic comeback or they're eliminated, the number 2 national seed in real trouble here.
Well, they really are, Rox. I mean, we talked about the Cardinal and how they have struggled offensively this whole regional. They came into this game tonight hitting just .212 as a team.
So we'll look at our bracket here of the Stanford Regional. And the Cardinal knocked off Wright State in 13 innings in the opening round. Cal State Fullerton behind Colton Eastman a win on Friday. These 2 teams met last night. And the dramatic walk-off homer from Jace Chamberlain as Jumbo went yard off the scoreboard to give the Titans the win, put Stanford in the loser's bracket. They beat Baylor earlier today to get to this Game 6 and regional final. Cal State Fullerton built a 5-0 lead. A run in the first on a sac fly from Daniel Cope. And then a sac fly from Jake Pavlidich in the fourth inning and making it 2-0 before Ruben Cardenas launched a 3-run homer over the fence and left. His fourth of the year. And that gave Cal State Fullerton a 5-0 lead. Again, for the Titans, it was only their 13th home run of the season. And then Stanford got a pair in the top half of the seventh. Zach Gretsch continues on the mound and gets strike one to Ruben Cardenas.
Doesn't it kind of figure when you're dealing with a Titan team? 11 home runs as a team coming into this regional here, but yet they've hit 2 gigantic ones, right?
Seems like they hit them when it matters.
They win games when it matters.
And they started off the year 1-7. A slow start to the season, but then got going, went 18-6, won the Big West, and are unbeaten here at this regional is Ruben Cardenas back in the 5th inning.
Well, here's what Ruben did on a hanging breaking ball. Again, 3 home runs the entire year. It's a hanging breaking ball. He hooks it just inside the left field foul pole, and just like that, Titans were up 5-0.
Oh, 2 the count on Cardenas. Zach Gretsch. The pitch. In the air to right, Brandon Wolf coming in. And Brandon Wolf will make the play, and there's one out. Daniel Cope, the catcher and cleanup batter, coming up for Cal State Fullerton. And if you missed it earlier, it's been an interesting night for the Cardinal, as a lot of frustration from Stanford's side in terms of the perception of the strike zone from plate umpire Brandon Cooper, and there was an ejection of third base coach Tommy Nicholson back in the 5th inning.
Well, it started in the first inning. Stowers was up, second and third, and 2 outs, and he was rung up on a pitch that we both believe was a 1.5 outside.
Liner to center and a scorching single from Cope. 4th hit for Cal State Fullerton. So Cope, who had a sac fly in the first, scored a run in the 4th. And now singles to center, a 1-out base runner for Sahid Valenzuela.
Well, if you didn't know the score and you saw the box score and you saw one team had 4 hits and the other team had 6, but one team had 5 runs and the other had 2, who would you think would be winning this game?
Usually the team that has more hits.
Right?
Usually.
But Cal State Fullerton has been so fundamentally sound with the bats. From bunting to moving runners over.
I don't know if there's a team that executes better than Cal State Fullerton. There's a lot of teams that do it great,
yes,
but they're clearly one of them.
Well, as far as what we have seen this year. But they are, and they always have been a fundamentally sound program. All the way back from the late, great Augie Garrido's clubs.
You go through all the line of great coaches they have had during this amazing run, which now Rick Vanderhook is at the helm of. But you go back, Augie Garrido, George Horton, Dave Serrano. It's an incredible list and an embarrassment of riches when you look at the success that Cal State Fullerton has had over the years.
The little town of Fullerton.
Not little in the baseball world, that's for sure.
It's really not. 4 national championships.
18 College World Series appearances.
This is the 27th straight year they've been in the postseason, but I can't get over this. 43 straight years, 30 wins or more for the Titans.
Valenzuela flares it down the left side, out of play.
There's a lot going on in the minds of both of these clubs. If you're on the Titans side, you can kind of feel it, you can sense it, but you know you got to get 3 more outs. Stanford side, you're thinking, we only have 3 more outs, and this could be it for a tremendous year.
A Stanford team that is 46-11. Pac-12 champions. And David Esker's first year back on the farm, the former Stanford captain and shortstop that helped lead the Cardinal to the 1987 national championship as a player. Taking over for his longtime mentor. 41 years, Mark Marquis on the farm. Valenzuela down on strikes. Third for Gretsch, 2 away. And that'll bring up Jake Pavlidich.
There's David. But you know, Rox, this is the beauty of baseball. It's the beauty of postseason play. You see the upsets. And initially when you see them, you're like, how did that happen? But then when you see the team that beat them and you see how they are playing at that time, and that's who wins in Omaha. It's not the best team on paper. It's the team that plays the best in Omaha.
And this is one of those teams, honestly, and I don't mean this to come out negative about Cal State Fullerton, because it's not. It's a compliment. For example, when I had them in the Super Regionals at Louisville back in 2015, and you look on paper in the stacked team that the Louisville Cardinals had with all those hard throwers in the rotation and the great offensive numbers that they had.
Birdie in the back of the bullpen.
And it looks like it's kind of a mismatch on paper.
Right.
But keep in mind, the game is not played on paper. And this team, and it's been a staple of the Cal State Fullerton program, they just find ways to win.
And you're right.
And that was the key in that regional. It's like Louisville's going, well, how the heck did we lose these guys?
Well, you think of that club and Thomas Eshelman. He begged to pitch.
Thomas Eshelman started and won game 1 of that Super at Louisville. He wanted the ball to close out game 3, came back, and he did it. But that's what Cal State Fullerton's program is based on. Players like that. Now they've had the great players over the years. And you look at now, for example, a guy like Matt Chapman or a Chris Davis who's in the major leagues, Michael Lorenzen recently, J.D. Davis. They've had great players, but it's not, as you've alluded to, that's not necessarily what wins this time of the year.
Who plays the best?
Three and 1 the count on Jake Pavlidich.
Well, we talked to Colton Eastman. What did he say? He said, we talked about them turning around the season. And exactly what he said, word for word. We didn't want to be the team that ruined the streak.
3-1. Fouled back.
And then we talked to Rick Vanderhook, and we told him what Colton said. And what did he say? They better not want to be. Hookie's one of a kind, isn't he?
Yes.
In a good way.
And it's been a tough year for Rick Vanderhook in a lot of ways. But yet here he is with the Titans on the verge of advancing to the Super Regionals for the 3rd time in 4 years and winning the Stanford Regional for the 2nd consecutive year. To left, Pavlidich. That's just foul. Foul by a couple of feet, trying to bid for extra bases. But recently, Rick Vanderhook losing his mom.
Yes, he did. 93 years old.
Losing a mentor and a close friend in Augie Garrido.
Actually, on his hat right now, he has initials of his mother on one side and 16 on the other side.
Affectionately known as Hookie.
I still want to mic him for a game, don't you?
I don't know if we could use it on the air, though.
I understand. Drop button would be an overdrive.
3-2 again, and Pavlidich. Ground ball to short, Nico Horner. On to first, side retired. We go to the 9th. The Titans 3 outs away from going to the Super Regionals. The Cardinal are chasing 3. We go to the 9th, and Cal State Fullerton trying to advance to a Super Regional for the 2nd consecutive year, 3rd time in the last 4 years. NCAA Regionals presented by Capital One. Along with Wes Clements and our ESPN crew, Roxy Burnson with you from Sunken Diamond at Stanford. where the winner of this regional will get the Washington Huskies, who won the Conway, South Carolina regional earlier today, hosted by Coastal Carolina. And for the first time, Washington has won a regional and are going to the Supers. Andrew Dashbach leads off the ninth against Blake Workman. Strike one.
Stanford is just trying to get base runners right now, Rox.
The goal for the Cardinal, get the tying run to the plate.
Correct.
That's what they're looking to do. Dashbach 0 for 2 with a walk. 1-1.
Dashbach, one of the hottest hitters the Cardinal have had in this regional. A team that has hit .212 coming into this game in this Stanford regional.
He homered earlier today against Baylor in the elimination game this afternoon. His 17th of the year. Chased a high fastball.
Well, this is advantage Workman now. He's got that power breaking ball in his back pocket to go along with this 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
One and two. Workman on in relief. Tanner Bybee struck out 11 in the start for the Titans. 2 balls, 2 strikes, a career best 11 strikeouts for Bybee, who made the start in place of Andrew Quezada, who has been the third starter for the Titans, but a right elbow strain prevented him from making the start here tonight.
Bybee was just sensational.
Strike 3 called. Dashbach caught looking. Workman with his third strikeout. That's 14 punch-outs for Titans pitching tonight.
Well, it's a great pitch, Rox. It's right on the outside part, about 94, and just locked them up. And he knew it.
1 out in the ninth. Kyle Stowers the batter for Stanford. And Cal State Fullerton, here's what's at stake. A chance to get to a super regional for the 14th time in school history, which would be the second most appearances in a super by any school. Florida State has the most. And then Cal State Fullerton tied with LSU. Titans in good shape to get there. LSU is not. As the LSU Tigers are getting it handed to them again by Oregon State. And as a 3 seed in this regional, Cal State Fullerton trying to buck the trend here. Just twice has a 3 seed made it to Omaha in the last 3 years. But Virginia did win a national championship coming out as a 3 seed.
They did. But Omaha is not very foreign to the Titans.
They've won 4 national titles, 18 appearances in Omaha. 2-2 on Stowers.
And this is Workman. Even when you're ahead in the count, you know what's coming. And he's still blowing it by you.
2-2 on Kyle Stowers. Big West champs, Cal State Fullerton. The pitch. And a full count on the left fielder, Stowers. Stanford just looking for base runners at this point.
Anyway, anyhow.
The Titans are 1 out away from winning the Stanford Regional. Back-to-back strikeouts for Workman to start the ninth. Brandon Wolf 2 for 3 tonight. A single, a double, and a run.
As you can see the emotion. No voices needed.
There's Tommy Wilson right there, 27, who started last night's game, pitched tremendously for Cal State Fullerton. As we alluded to it, his dad, Thomas F. Wilson,
Yes.
who is here, played Biff. And Back to the Future is a drive to right center from Wolf. It is off the wall. Brandon Wolf, a 3-hit night, trying to keep it going for Stanford. That ball was a rocket off the bat of Wolf.
It was smoked, and a great job as well. Extend this inning. And now Stanford is away right now. We'll get a look at this pitch, and it's a good fastball on the outside part, and Wolf does not miss it. Again, Roxy, you alluded to the great night he is having. He has hit the ball right on the screws.
3 for 4, 2 doubles and a run. So Will Matheson, the batter now. He singled and scored in the 7th. He is 1 for 3.
And again, Rox, you talked about it. All Stanford is trying to do is to get the tying run to the dish.
Keep the line moving. And Matheson has to find a way to reach. And the tying run is on deck. And it's Bryce Carter. Breaking ball for a strike.
Excuse me, Rock, but it's not the dinker right now, or excuse me, the double that you're worried about. It's the dinker that extends the inning. In a situation like this, you take a look at Berryhill, he is really deep. Now, granted, Matheson has some power.
Matheson to right. Cardenas going back. Cardenas crashes into the wall. He hangs on, and Cal State Fullerton has won the Stanford Regional. For the 2nd straight year, the Titans win the Stanford Regional, and for the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons, Rick Vanderhook and Cal State Fullerton are headed to the Super Regionals.
Well, they came here to Palo Alto as an underdog, but they sure didn't play like it. They played like the Titans have done over the years. 2 great ball clubs and the number 2 overall seed. They come up to their home ballpark, and kind of fitting, Roxy, that it ends on a play like this from the guy that hit the big 3-run bomb. Cardenas slams into the wall, and Super Regionals, there they go.